All right, Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football for you, the smart fan, talking Texas football. The Longhorns with the third-rated recruiting class just closed down here this first Wednesday of February. So we need to talk it up with Steve Helwick. You can join him on Hustle Belt on SB Nation. Also does a lot of good work there at the University of Texas on the media platform there. Steve, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, Mark. How about you?
I'm doing great. So we definitely want to get you on here to talk Texas football because there's an upswing when you talk about a winning season for the first time in a few years, a bowl victory for the first time in a few years, and now the third best recruiting class in college football. We talked about it around that early signing period. Just your thoughts about the class overall and maybe some of those final closing efforts by Tom Herman to really wrap up a first-rate class.
I think it shows a lot about how great of a recruiter Tom Herman is. You go 7-6 and you out-recruit the national champions in Alabama. You get the third best class in the nation and sign 6 defensive backs that are in the ESPN 300. That is the most ever during the ranking era. You get 2 5-stars, both defensive backs that we'll talk about very soon, and 17 4-stars. Just a great class all around, and you can see a lot of momentum getting back into this Texas program that hasn't seen it for a while. And I think this recruiting class pairs very nicely with that Texas Bowl win over Missouri, because that win was maybe a program-changing win because it marked their first winning season since 2013, first bowl win since 2012. Now Texas is finally gaining that momentum under Tom Herman that fans hoped when they first brought him in from Houston back in December 2016. So Tom Herman's recruiting well. Now fans just have to see the results. And a lot of it's with the defensive back position, which is huge because Texas ranked 108th last year in passing yards allowed per game. Now they are at a disadvantage playing in the Big 12 that features a lot of air raid offenses, some Texas Tech, some Oklahoma State, some Oklahomas. But then again, we're seeing there's no more Baker Mayfield, no more Nick Shimonette, no more Kenny Hill, no more Mason Rudolph. So Texas is going to have an advantage with a strong defense against a lot of young quarterbacks. Yes, they are young defenders, but they have a nice, healthy mix of veterans and young guys in the secondary. You got Caden Stearns and B.J. Foster, 2 5-star safeties. They're two of their top recruits, both from the state of Texas. Texas did a great job of retaining in-state recruits this year, something they haven't done under Charlie Strong. They got 7 out of the top 10 players in the state. The players inside the Lone Star State weren't leaving for Ohio States and LSUs as they had done in past years. They stayed in-state and went to Texas. So you have this stacked secondary, and you have guys like Chris Boyd and Devontae Davis returning. So now Texas has an advantage, I believe, that they didn't have before with their defense. Their defense was already great, one of the best in the nation. They held Oklahoma to under 30 last year. They held Oklahoma State to 13 points. And now you add a secondary with this great recruiting class, six very good defensive backs, then that is where you're going to see a turning point in Texas. You look at the top teams in the nation, the Alabamas, Ohio State. They constantly have great players in the secondary and pump them to the draft, the Denzel Wards, the Minka Fitzpatricks. And maybe if Texas can get that, maybe that is their springboard into maybe a New Year 6 type program. Oklahoma's been the gold standard of a Big 12 program lately. But with Texas getting the top recruiting class in the Big 12 and Oklahoma losing some talented seniors like Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm not saying Oklahoma is going to be worse than Texas next year, but what I am saying is that Texas could close the gap with recruiting all these talented athletes.
We always enjoy the discussion with Steve Helwick. You can join him on SB Nation's platform for MAC football, Hustle Belt, and also he's joined us a number of times to talk Texas football. He joins us from the University of Texas there in Austin, where he does a ton of work on the various media platforms there on campus. So, Steve, you or I could put on a logo that has the hook'em horns, the logo, and the burnt orange and travel around the country, and we're going to draw interest because it's the Texas brand, and that automatically gets the interest, and you're going to bring in a top 25 recruiting class with any Monday mediocre coach. What separates Tom Herman in your view? Why is he this good? Why has he been able to close the deal on the nation's elite?
He knows how these kids click. He's able to be a great recruiter because he knows what makes these kids want to go to their school. The first thing he does is he gets these $10,500 lockers. Texas has the money, so they throw it out and make an effort of recruiting. He also recently actually released a rap video which lists the names of every single recruit in it. 27 recruits were named in a rap video. He's doing all these things to make these recruits actually want to come to play for Texas, and he's done a great job of it. Now, the results, he's already improved Texas just by 2 wins, which is doing well, but you saw what he did at Houston. He took a program, I think Houston was 8-5 when he first arrived, coming off of an Armed Forces Bowl win against Pitt. And then he turns Houston, in his first year with him, he goes 13-1. Right away, he revitalizes the program, injects some life to it, makes Greg Ward, takes away John O'Korn, makes Greg Ward the quarterback. He sees certain things that he knows are going to work in his system. And right now, we were just talking about his quarterback situation at Houston. He hasn't even finalized a quarterback situation at Texas. He says it's an open competition, not only between Shane Buechele and Sam Ehlinger, but he also is incorporating the 2 recruits they just got, Cameron Rising and Casey Thompson, into this, saying that all 4 could see playing time. And Herman has such an open mind, I believe, with evaluating talent and players, that he's not always going to go with the guys that were successful, the guys that just won it for him the week before. He's going to switch it up a lot and see what's going to be best to win the next game. And that is why I think a lot of Texas fans are sold on Herman, is a lot of his unpredictability and just the youth that he brings into this program, which are huge. And I think he has a lot of time to test out the best players for the roster, because this year they open against Maryland. I know they lost to Maryland last year. I don't think it's going to happen again with a better Texas program, and Maryland being 4-8 last year. They have that game in College Park, and then they play a Tulsa team coming off a 2-10 season at Darrell K. Royal in Austin. So there's a lot of time to evaluate the young talent and mix it up a little on the depth chart and see what's going to work for the next couple games, USC, TCU, when the opponents go up the notch. So Herman's going to have to be a great coach this year, not just bring in the talent. He is going to have to do something with it, and that is what separates a great coach from a good coach in college football.
Hook 'em horns. We're talking Texas football with Steve Helwick, doing a tremendous job on campus with the various media platforms at the University of Texas. He also writes for SB Nation on Hustle Belt, MAC football, and basketball. And Steve, this program has a ways to go. It's one recruiting class, but it's stacked against some decent recruiting classes, and Tom Herman has everything pointed in the right direction. The trend is pointing in the right direction. The buzz around campus, can you give us kind of a feel for what it's like now versus what it was pre-Tom Herman, when it was like, okay, we're Texas, but we're not playing like Texas, and there's little hope that we're going to get back to that place. And suddenly, with a bowl win, with a winning season, and with this recruiting class, things have suddenly changed.
I don't think it came as soon as Tom Herman. Yes, there was a lot of hype surrounding him, sort of like Scott Frost coming into Nebraska, or back when Nick Saban went to Alabama in 2007. But I think the Texas Bowl win marked another turnaround, a turning point where you can see more hype than there was before. Because earlier in the season, you look at the student section at the Oklahoma State game, that's a top 15 team coming into Austin. Empty student section. There wasn't really much support because Texas had that rough start against Maryland, and fans weren't sold on Herman at the time. But now that he's come back, he won some games that he was underdogs in, at West Virginia versus Missouri. Texas wasn't favored to win either of those games, and winning 2 of those last 3 and bringing this hot recruiting class into Texas is certainly going to gain momentum. It depends all what Texas does against Maryland in College Park before we can see the buzz around the program, because their first game's on the road this year. It's not going to be in Austin. And then it depends what Herman does in Maryland, I believe, is how the fans are going to react, whether they're going to show up in numbers and really support the program this year during the Tulsa game, or if they're just going to do the usual that we've seen throughout the Charlie Strong era and for good parts of last year, and be more apathetic to Texas football.
Well, Texas football and Texas brand is a given, regardless of where the program currently is. It's a brand that can sell nationally, and it's one of the blue bloods all time in college football. But for me, it's an intriguing story here in 2018 to see if whether Tom Herman has brought the program back. I'm not talking national championship quality, but something close to what you talked about early in the our discussion concerning a New Year's Six Bowl and competing for a Big 12 championship.